While the Imperium of Man is well aware of the destructive powers of craftworlds like Beltan, Yandin, and Simhan, there are many other smaller, yet no less deadly craftworlds that lurk in the uncharted regions of space. Wandering in the western part of the Segmentum Obscurus is the craftworld known as the Light of the Fallen Suns, or Lugganath in the Eldar lexicon. Imperial Navy captains and traveling rogue traders tell frightening tales of the elusive craftworlds that, unlike the rest of the Eldar, their appearance doesn't always mean a preemptive attack. The Imperium has formed a cautious respect for these warriors that seem to hate chaos just as much, if not more so, than the Imperials. To their Eldari brethren, the Lugganath are nothing more than corsairs, in other words, a floating city of outcasts. Clad in fiery orange and black helmets, they pillage and plunder for survival. But the truth is that the Eldar of the Light of the Fallen Suns have progressed much further than their brethren, both in ideology and culture. They learned to accept the loss of control in the Milky Way galaxy. In their eyes, hope lies away from the material realm, and instead resides inside their otherworldly realm, known as the Webway. Much like the Drukhari, the Lugganath wish to find a calm and secluded area within the labyrinthian corridors of the Webway to rebuild their society away from the cursed and damned that still fantasize about their empire of old. The ideology of the Lugganath solidifies their forfeit of a resurrected Eldar empire in real space. Their world rune, known as a Black Sun, pays respect to the original Eldar Star Empire, but every Lugganath is taught the ancient proverb that if they were to look far enough into the void, they would be able to perceive the last light of those dead stars, a metaphor that showcases the craftworld's expectations of their future. Like the suns, the craftworlds and their ancient culture are dead, and only a small sparkle of light still remains. If the species is to survive, the Eldari of Lugganath believe they must band together with others that have cast aside the conservative ideals of the old empire, and a new progressive ideology must be obtained. This craftworld seeks the wisdom of the Harlequins and their mastery of the Webway, and due to their leniency, the craftworld has become a haven for their outcast brethren. Corsair fleets cluster around the docking towers of the craftworld, amongst them the notorious Sunblitz Brotherhood. Under the watchful gaze of their farseers, the hard-eyed people of Lugganath mingle freely with the warriors on the fringe. When the Lugganath gathers for war, its armies are a mix of standing and auxiliary forces, a riot of colors in a galaxy gray with age. Above all else, this craftworld hates chaos in all of its forms, a lesson learned very early on in the Imperium's history. Records dating back to the Horus Heresy showcase this respectable quality for the Xenos. In what would become known as the Balthor Sigma Intervention, a blood-maddened pursuit force of traitor world eaters engaged in hunter-killer operations against defeated loyalist forces during the Horus Heresy. It was counterattacked by the Liga Obsedax, a demi-legion at Balthor Sigma. The world eaters were supported by numerous super-heavy tanks, and therefore able to hold the cockatrice titans at bay, until in quick succession, the tanks were engaged from an unexpected quarter and destroyed in short order. Completely by surprise, a force of Xeno-Titans, later determined to belong to Craftworld Lugganath, intervened in devastating effect. It was only when the traitor-aligned Titans of Legal Furians fought their way through to reinforce the traitors' lines that total defeat was averted. At the conclusion of the battle, the Xeno-Titans disengaged and vanished into the ash-shrouded depths of Balthor Sigma's equatorial magma wastes. The Chaos Forces would get their revenge when Craftworld Lugganath was invaded by the forces of the Emperor's Children Traitor Legion. Thousands died as the devotees of Slaanesh defiled much of the craftworld and drove the defenders back. The reeling Eldari rallied at the Plaza of Reflection, where the Emperor's Children Noise Marines used their sonic weapons to collapse much of the craftworld's graceful architecture, crushing hundreds of Eldari to death amid splintered pieces of Wraithbone. Seeing the devastation created by the terrible weapons of the Chaos Space Marines, the Autarchs of Lugganath authorized the use of Hemlock Wraith Fighters. The Emperor's Children eventually retreated before the resulting barrage of necromantic energy, abandoning their dead and pursued every step of the way by the vengeful Harlequins and the unflinching, tireless Ghost Warriors. Craftworld Lugganath would get its revenge for this invasion when they attacked the stronghold of the Steelheart chapter of Chaos Space Marines, destroying the chapter entirely, and then again when they helped defeat the demonic incursion of Cathox Prime and aided in the suppression of the Chaos Cultist uprising on Cathox Gamma. This rivalry between Lugganath and Chaos hasn't prevented the craftworld from showing its military might against any other force. For example, when a vast Imperial force comprised of the 52nd and 124th Valhallan Imperial Guard Regiment led an invasion on the ice planet of Klein. In order to prevent the sacred Eldari Temple of Isha from falling into the hands of the Imperium, Bealtan and Lugganath each fielded their most potent Ghost Warriors and Aspect Warriors in a unified force. Partially because of the strange ethereal blizzard that plagued the world and the stubbornness of the Valhallans, what was intended to be a fast strike resulted in a protracted and exhausting conflict. Eventually, the Eldari reached the temple and encircled it with Ghost Warriors, only for a warp blizzard to bring new terrors in the form of a wave of demons. An uneasy alliance was struck between the Eldari and the Imperial forces to purge the planet of the frost-blighted Slaaneshi warp horrors. However, the Eldari had a great plan and lured the demons and the Valhallans into a bloody conflict against each other that greatly reduced their numbers. Though the Valhallans are finally victorious against the warp spawn, the Ghost Warriors easily routed the exhausted Imperial forces. Many years later, the Craftworld of Lugganath fell prey to the disease known as brittle coma. Its seer council projected their spirit into the Garden of Nurgle in the realm of chaos, hoping to find a cure, but instead met a tragic and unsettling end. Very few mortal eyes have ever beheld the Garden of Nurgle, its swamplands constantly wheezing a fog of supernatural diseases, and living beings cannot endure so much as a single breath of this repugnance. Only Nurgle himself can spare visitors from his garden's toxic affections. When he is expecting company, he will open up a path through the gurgling fungus fronds with a single happy gesture. Trespassers are viewed poorly in Nurgle's domain, as the seers of Lugganath found this at their cost. The Eldar of this far-flung craftworld have long told the story of the Caged Maiden, wherein Isha, the Eldari goddess of fertility and healing, is imprisoned in Nurgle's mansion at the mercy of her captor. The Eldari believe this legend to be absolute, and even aspire to one day free the goddess from Nurgle's grasp. So it was that when Lugganath was ravaged by the terrible disease known as brittle coma, an army of its most gifted psykers cast their mind into the realm of Nurgle in pursuit of the truth of the myth of Isha's captivity, hoping to find their lost goddess and put a halt to the Craftworld's deadly pandemic. They knew that they would almost certainly die in the attempt, but believed that their souls would ultimately be drawn back into the glittering spirit stones of their comatose bodies. Once safe in the crystallized afterlife, they would impart Isha's message to the spirit seers and lift Nurgle's curse from their home. At first, their astral projected forms appeared to be able to pass through the grasping foliage of Nurgle's garden with ease. Their gull's helms kept them as spirits, and their psychic rune-shielded minds cut through the dismal vegetation, for they were sharper than any corporeal blade. The rotflies of the realm buzzed and whispered of the intruders in Nurgle's ear. Just as the seers of Lugganath sighted Grandfather Nurgle's mansion in the distance, a great host of plague-bearers rose up from the mud and began to chant in a droning monotone as they came forward. The seers channeled their psychic energy into a great blast of cleansing blue fire, boiling away huge chunks of Nurgle's army and darting out of the clumsy reach of their foes. But ever more plague-bearers emerged from the slurry to block their path. The battle raged for solar days, and swaths of Nurgle's gardens were blasted into ruin in the process. However, in the material realm, the physical form of the trespassing seers began to convulse and shake, succumbing to the very plague they hoped to overcome. Slowly, as their bodies shriveled and their spirit stones turned to rotting mulch, the souls of the seers that were trapped in Nurgle's realm began to pass fully into the immaterium. The soupy air of the garden seeped into their lungs, worm-riddled mud splattered up their legs, and white-bodied demon flies clambered in their mouth. Claimed at last, the seers' feet took root as their faces hardened into bark. Their arms split and twisted into gnarled branches, each finger hung with ripening Nurgling fruit. The seers of Lugganath remained there still, a corpse of wailing trees that brighten Nurgle's leisurely walks and strike a note of despair into the heart of Isha, his immortal captive. Such is the fate of those who enter uninvited into the heartland of Nurgle, for even the generosity of Grandfather of Plagues has its limits. The disease was eventually overcome, but their hatred of chaos continued. With the help of a troop of harlequins, the Eldari of Lugganath defeated and killed the rising chaos champion of Slaanesh, the Radiant King, who, if left unchecked, would have possibly reunited the warring warbands of the Emperor's children into a single fighting force. In order to draw out their prey, the Eldari did not hesitate to manipulate the clone lord, Fabius Bile, to side with the Radiant King by offering them a target too tempting to ignore, the Craftworld itself. Successfully drawing out their enemies, the Eldari of Lugganath allowed the Emperor's children to penetrate deep into the Craftworld before springing their trap. They managed to isolate the Radiant King as he entered the transitional phase from mortal to demon prince, Surrounded by Lugganath's seer council, the Radiant King was utterly destroyed, yet his victory proved costly, as Fabius Bile was able to steal several spirit stones inhabited by the souls of Lugganath's Farseers. It is unknown what this terrible monster will do to them. Craftworld Lugganath also participated in the Sanctity Breach, when furious battle erupted in the twilight realm of the Webway, as Chaos Space Marines of the Thousand Sun Strider Legion fought their way within sight of the Black Library. The Craftworld, along with Ulthway and the Harlequins, were able to push the intruders back, but the breach, caused by the Chaos Sorcerer, completely sealed off one of the sections of the Webway, as it was lost forever. The last recorded encounter with Craftworld Lugganath was when the Farseers predicted the rise of the Orc Pirate Engineered, Lord Gorkhog Chrometeeth, prophesizing, should Chrometeeth succeed in the invasion of an Imperial industrial world, that he would become a menace to merchant shipping across the subsector, thus in turn provoking Imperial anti-Xeno crusades that would lead to the destruction of the entire Craftworld. Marshalling its forces along with allied Corsair bands led by Prince Eldir and Prince Isbel, the Eldar were able to bring down Chrometeeth's new flagship, the Beast Mother, and kill the Greenskin before he could launch his campaign, though not without significant loss of life. And those were 40 facts on Craftworld Lugganath. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to see more videos on the Eldar, let me know what specific topics you guys want me to talk about down in the comment section below. And thank our patrons on Patreon. It is because of them that we can do these types of videos. I want to learn more about the Eldar because the Sound Alchemist is creating his own craft world. He created a video last week. You should check out. I'll link it at the top of this video. And I just want to know if I'm going to be seeing Eldar on the battlefield fighting against my mighty orcs. I want to know what their deal is. Obviously, Eldar are not as popular as the Imperium of Man, and I think part of the reason why, other than the fact that they don't get covered in like the books as much as humanity, there's not that much room for kit bashing. I've noticed that every single craft world, like the colors change, but that's about it. You can get specialized aspects, so you can have specialized units, but again, that's pretty much it. You don't have that like cool kit bashing of a Space Marine or of a Imperial Guard regiment, but we'll see what the Sound Alchemist creates, hopefully in the near future. Also, I learned that I might have a speech impediment. You guys do not know how many times I had to say craft world again and not craft world. So there's that. Yeah, learning a lot about myself. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow. This is Gershwin with One Mind Syndicate signing out.